Hey guys, my name is Matsumo, and welcome to our episode of Monday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you'd like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. The first question today comes from Daniel, and it is, do you think that when Echo uses his gadget, it slows down the diffuser plant instead of knocking them out of the animation altogether? I am actually really surprised that Ubisoft hasn't made any significant changes to Echo. Ever since the introduction of the pick ban system, while they haven't given us the hard facts or stats on how often he is getting banned, it seems like 9 out of 10 times he is sidelined, and for good reason. He is probably the best defensive operator in the game to win a 1v5 or a clutch situation as long as he knows how to use his gadget properly. And so on top of the fact that he's constantly sidelined, no one's ever really able to play him anymore in a ranked environment, the fact that if they are able to play him, he is constantly picked for those very reasons, you would think that something would eventually be done to try to change him in a meaningful way. And so what I like about your suggestion so much is that it keeps the same essence and role, the denial and slowing down the progress of the offensive team, but wouldn't allow him to just straight out win a 1v5 out of nowhere simply because of his gadget. Because right now it forces you out of the animation. If you're planting the diffuser and the clock is completely run out, as soon as you stop said animation, defensive team wins. But if you made it like what you recommended, where it just slows it down, maybe it pushes back the progress a little bit, but doesn't force the player out of the animation, it will still give Echo or anyone on his team more opportunity to rush on in and hopefully take advantage of said situation, but it isn't going to be an automatic win. Now, I know some people out there will argue that this pushes things too far and that it would make Echo obsolete. This is the very reason why people play as this character, and to some extent, I agree with them. This is why he has one of the highest pick rates on defense, but I don't really feel like that's the full story. His gadget, even without that capability, is still incredibly powerful. Having two mobile drones that go invisible when they reach the ceiling, anyone on your team has access to them so they can make the necessary callouts and they can stun someone. Like, that by itself seems like it should be enough, but for some reason it has this added benefit. And so by reeling that in a little bit, it would still be able to slow down their progress when they're planting, but it wouldn't outright stop them entirely. I feel like that would be a fair compromise. And so I really hope that Ubisoft does take something like this into consideration, or if they don't, they do have some plans to change him in the future. Having an operator like this that has such a high ban rate and pick rate, at least to me, indicates that something needs to be done. It doesn't necessarily have to be this, but I really hope that Ubisoft has something in store. Let me know what you guys think about this idea, though. Do you think that this would be a great direction for Echo? Do you think that would put him in line with all of the other defensive operators in the game? Do you think that Ubisoft should do something else to try to reduce his effectiveness? Give me your guys' thoughts down below. The next question is, do you think that Call of Duty Modern Warfare is going to dethrone Battlefield? I don't know if I would go that far. I know a lot of people out there were really hoping that this 32v32 mode was going to compete with Battlefield, and to some extent, it absolutely does. It's a lot of fun. I have thoroughly enjoyed my time, even on one map. I think I put like 10, 12 hours into this one map by itself. Like, it's an incredible amount of fun, but it also has a lot of problems. The Battlefield franchise has been around for basically decades at this point, and they've also been able to refine the larger scale formula over the last couple of decades. Now, granted, they've run into a bunch of roadblocks lately. I think a lot of people are kind of upset with the way they've been handling the Battlefield franchise, but even then, they're still masters of that kind of gameplay. And so by introducing something like this into Call of Duty, it's still incredibly fun, but it basically takes the Call of Duty formula, adds in a few teamwork-oriented mechanics, but by and large, it's just basically a larger Call of Duty. On top of that, you can really tell that this is their first go-around of making a larger mode like this, because it is definitely rough around the edges. At its core, it might be a lot of fun, but it definitely has some problems. I'll probably make a video in the future going really in depth on what I liked and what I disliked about the beta so far, but off the top of my head, you got kill streaks, a terrible spawn system, and really just the map design itself. The fact that you are constantly on the minimap because UAVs are being spammed the entire time makes it difficult for you to move from point A to point B. And if you do venture outside, you then run the risk of leaving yourself open to a chopper or a VTOL that just melts you instantaneously. The amount of kill streaks that are being deployed is pretty crazy, and it really results in some chaotic action. Now, some people really enjoy it, and there are ways to work around this with different perks, for example, but I definitely know that's one of the things that people have been critiquing. You also just have a terrible spawn system. People are literally spawning directly in front of players constantly. I don't know why they don't spread them out a little bit. This map is very large, and for some reason, the spawn system only has like 1 or 2 points for an objective, which results in these incredibly frustrating moments. And that gets to my last point, and that is the fact that this map is actually very large, but for some reason, everything is condensed in the very middle. If they were able to spread out the C, B, and D capture point a little bit further away from themselves and actually force people to move around a little bit, it would probably make for a better experience. And so all in all, I don't think that COD is all of a sudden going to dethrone Battlefield for that large scale action. I do think that it'll be a substitute for people that are looking for this kind of gameplay because it is a lot of fun, but it definitely shows that this is their first go around. The next question comes from Anonymous, and it is, Ubisoft devs said that they are testing the 2 speeds with ACOGs that have semi-auto, but almost none of the 2 speeds have something like that besides Goyo. I think that the Boss G Shoddy should have an ACOG because it takes skill to run and it fits that category. A lot of people were pretty confused, me included, when they introduced Goyo because it completely goes against their design philosophy for the longest time. Ubisoft indicated and basically stated that only 3 armored operators on defense were going to have access to this attachment, but obviously that's no longer the case with Goyo. The other reason why people were fairly perplexed by this decision is that Qaed's and now Goyo Shoddy is really just significantly better in almost every capacity compared to something like the Boss G. It may be really fun to use, but only having 2 rounds to work with puts it at a significant disadvantage. And so the fact that Goyo has access to an ACOG, also has way more rounds, hits incredibly hard, it just seems like the logical choice. Now, the only thing I can think of for why they haven't given the Boss G access to this attachment comes down to Vigil. Yes, this would make sense for Dokkaebi, not only because she's on offense, but she's also 2 speed, but Vigil is a 3 speed operator who can move around the map and relocate incredibly quickly. Way back in the day, Jaeger and Bandit had access to this attachment slot, and they were a force to be reckoned with. The mobility on top of that long-range precision just made them unstoppable. And I'm nowhere near gonna go out and say that by giving the Boss G access to this attachment that it would reach those levels, but you know that that was probably the reason why Ubisoft is so reluctant. Having someone that is that mobile and has access to that long-range potential is a bit worrisome. That being said though, unless I saw otherwise, I really would not be opposed to this whatsoever. This is more of a meme weapon. It's fun to use, it's cool, but it really isn't a competitive option. There are some people out there that probably would get very good with it, but even then, it wouldn't be really all that reliable because of all of the other weaknesses associated with it. You'd be better off playing as Goyo or Qaed because of their options available to them instead of someone like Vigil. But obviously, that is just my 2 cents. The next question comes from Steven, and it is, what do you think about an option for ranked where people can opt out of their placements and solely be placed at the lowest rank possible and call it the grind or something? That way people who want to go from copper to diamond can do so without the abandon penalty. I don't know if I would like something like that introduced. I do understand why players do this because they're looking for a challenge. They want to be at the very bottom and they want to see if they can get all the way up to the top. Like, I understand that, but at the same time, you're basically ruining the experience for everyone that is at the very, very bottom all the way till you get to the point where you're at the skill level that you should be. The reason why this skill system is in place is to put you against people that are around your same skill level. And so the entire time you're in the copper, the bronze, the silver leagues, you're just destroying everyone that you're going against. And so while you can claim like, yes, I went from the bottom all the way to the top, to have that in the game as a reliable thing to do just kind of seems counterintuitive. And so it's for that very reason why I would be very surprised by this. Who knows, maybe Ubisoft likes the idea of this kind of a challenge, but I just think it goes against kind of their design philosophy for ranked, and so I just don't see this happening. But yeah, guys, that is what it for today's episode of Monday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about what we discussed in today's video. Are you really enjoying the Modern Warfare beta? Have you been disappointed? What would you like to see improved? Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. As always, if you'd like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can also leave a comment or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. But until next time, guys, have a good one and take it easy.